All right, let's call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Showalter.
Here.
Myers.
Here.
Howard.
Present.
Redlet.
Here.
Thompson.
Here. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Mary, how are you this evening?
I'm great, thank you.
It's great to hear. Great to hear. Okay. Yeah, public comment. I believe we have Craig Lovelace signed up. Come on up to the podium, sir.
Don't touch the mic. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Out of my budget.
Right.
we won't worry about that right now. It's okay.
All right.
Came out of Frankie's budget, I heard.
Yeah.
Doesn't everything come out of
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need any help with police. Pretty short tonight. Just got the financials for the month of January and first month of the year. Good way to start it off. We started out about 1% ahead of budget, so that's pretty good. Come up with revenue for the month of $3.2 million. Then that's the gross revenue, and then we have the contractual adjustments. I don't know if I've ever explained that. What that really means is what we charge, and then what the insurance companies accept as the charges is the adjustments. And so people talk about charges maybe being high on the hospital, but it's really not what we charge; it's what we get paid.
Mm-hmm.
So that amount, after 3.25 of charges, is 1.797. So about 1.8 million on the net revenue for net income for the month. Salary expense this month, $611,000. Benefits, $182,000. Looking at total employee expenses of $793,000. As we've explained, I think before, salaries and benefits run about 50% of our expenses for the hospital. That gives us a total operating expenses of $1.6 million for the month, and total expenses of $1.7, and brings us to a bottom line of a total operating income of $55,000. We're projected this year of an operating income of only about $149,000. So got a third of it in the first month. I think that means I'll have some negative months coming up.
Yeah, possibly.
That we got there. Then on the expense side, or the other operating income side, we have about $155,000, and total non-operating expenses of $42,000 gives us a total net income for the month of about $168,000, and that's projected for the budget for the year of 1.9. So like I said, we're 1.39% ahead of budget so far after 1 month. So good year, good start. The one thing that we've been trying to really hang on to is to use for investments and whatnot is our cash on hand. We're sitting at 268 days cash on hand. Average daily expenses have increased a little bit. They're running about 54,000. That's actually down a little bit from last month, but up from a prior year.
Do you have a number you try to stay around as far as cash on hand balance?
Not necessarily. I think I might have explained this before. The last couple of years, we've had some COVID dollars,
Mhm.
and a lot of this cash accumulation has come from that. We've hung on to it knowing that this year, in particular 2023, there are no more of those government dollars. They're gone. So we want to have those cash reserved to get through the hard times. A good target is we want to stay about 120 at least, which is only about 3-4 months or
Mhm.
4 months, I guess, roughly of operating. But right now we're sitting, like I say, it's 268, about 9 months or so of operating cash. So it's
With the anticipation that that's going to come down this year.
yes, I think it will. The other thing is, we've talked in the past about potential, reinvestment and having to buy new equipment if we have to do a building or anything like that. We're going to need that kind of cash to really be prepared for that. So it's just a good reserve to have. I've seen hospitals with 500-600 days cash on hand, Then I start wondering, why aren't you reinvesting if you start getting too much accumulated? Because, this is a county hospital, and it is supported, not fully, but, to some extent by, the public, the tax dollars, and so we want to make sure we use those wisely, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good enough. Census for first month of the year, we're sitting at an average daily census of just over 4 for patients in the hospital. Daily ER visits, just over 6. Total ERs for the month were 191 visits. I think this last weekend, we probably did, about 10% of that just in one weekend, so had a busy weekend. January visits to the clinics. In our specialty clinic, and I'm going to distinguish here a little bit, there's the specialists that come in that are they kind of do their own billing and whatnot, and they're visiting. We basically pay them a per diem to come. 183 visits. And then there's the other specialists that come that we do the billing for. It's a little bit different, 112. And then our regular clinic visits, which is the family clinic that everybody goes to for the primary care, is 1,141. Total visits for the month is 1,436. That puts us on track for just over 17,000 visits for the year. And I think last year we were at about 18,000. So we're pretty close after 1 month to about the same as we've been. So that's about it. Short and sweet this month. Any questions anybody has?
Oh, Mark,
Okay.
thank you for the update.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else signed up for public comment tonight? Okay. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We have 2/21/23 commission meeting minutes and the appropriation ordinances 2023-05, 2023-05A, and 2023-P05. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns on those this time around?
I move that we approve the consent agenda, items A and B.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second?
a second by Commissioner Myers. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redlin,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Okay, next up we have Tess Smith here with an update for the GAC. Good evening.
Well, it's been a while since I've given you guys a update of kind of what's been going on. So I'll just read you through like 2021, 2022 program numbers for what we've had for our kids. In the fall, 70 kids for flag football, 60 for youth volleyball camp, which youth volleyball camp, basketball camp, we tie in with GHS and they help us with that. And then it's also a fundraiser. We give them a portion back so for their time and effort. So 60 kids for volleyball camp, 80 kids for basketball. When we did the Nerf Blasters back in the fall, we had 30. The 5-on-5 basketball tournament we just had here in January, we had 18 teams. For the GAC, GHS baseball softball camp, we had 75 participants. And then this summer for baseball softball, we had 231 kids out there. Pickleball is strong and steady every morning with at least 6. Sometimes we float to 12. They're inside right now, so they really would appreciate the weather getting nice, so they can have 2 courts outside, but they're pretty faithful. Spin bike class, we just added that with last 2 years worth of match day money. So we've got 15 that attend spin bike class, but you have to reserve that bike online. So there's some rules and regulations. You just can't show up at 5:15 and hope there's a bike. You have to make sure you have a contract membership, have to have an early key card to get in, and you have to go online and reserve your bike. Because if you show up at 5:15 and there's no bike, might not be very happy about that. But it's been a great addition for us. Co-ed volleyball that we just wrapped up about a couple weeks ago, we had 13 teams for that. As far as our fitness classes go with the Zumba and those various classes, we've got about 35 participants in those. In tennis camp in the fall, and we'll have another tennis camp here in the spring, we had 10 participants. We did something new during the dead week that Keisha has us have in July. We had a kickball tournament. It was kind of fun. We started out nice and slow. It was good. So we could modify some things, but we're going to try to make that kind of an annual thing during that week when they can't do any high school activities. Co-ed softball last summer, we had 6 teams. And then teamed up with Jaleesa, and the last concert in the park, we did the back-to-school bash in the morning. And so for the Mini Tykes Triathlon, we had 12 participants, and then we had 6 high school, junior high sand volleyball teams. So hoping to build on that thing. We had a really good response from that, and looking forward to hosting that thing again. So that'll be fun. And that'll all tie into her last concert over there at Chambers Park, do everything in the morning, lead up to that, and then lead up to the evening. So a good way to draw the whole community to, I guess not Chambers Park, over to Seaver Park. So just as far as our memberships go right now, short term, which is 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month memberships, we're at 53 of those. And then our full year memberships, there's 236 full year members currently at the GAC. The other thing I was just going to hit you guys up with, and just let you kind of know what we're looking. You might have heard some scuttle, or we haven't really made it public yet, but we're working on a remodel. So probably about 6-7 years ago, you know how boards go. We all kind of sat around and we want to do something different. Well, so we got Northwest Tech's engineering prep class to come over and give us some drawings, and then we had a little bit of boost from some people when Topside Manor was being built to meet up with the architects from them. So we had them come, and that kind of drew up some plans, which I think you guys have. Mm-hmm. And so some plans, and then kind of here came some hard numbers, and we still kind of sat around a little bit. And then if you look in there, there's phase 1 and phase 2 is the phase that we really want to move forward with, which is taking the current weight room, the dance room, and the board room that are on the south side of the building, and make that one big room to become the weight room and the cardio room, which is not something that we feel needs to be done no matter what. That's the busiest, and if you've ever been in there, our weight room, if you get about 6 people in there, it's just crammed. Mm-hmm. And then taking the current cardio room, and it would become the board room / my office, with eventually, hopefully down the line, then adding a nice another wooden floored gym to the south of us. That's probably the thing that will take the longest to get to. But it looks like this project's going to move forward faster than we thought, as we have found some funding, and then we're also taking the steps to get with Dane Hansen, so still securing some funds, but slowly going to try to move forward and just make the GAC more modern and just bigger and more useful, user-friendly, I guess. So just going to keep you guys aware of that. And as far as, I guess, thank Danny and his crew already. We're starting. We're in the swing of baseball and softball practice getting started. So we've been out there. We spent with the baseball softball club. We spent out there yesterday getting fences up and doing a bunch of things with help of the teams and those parents. And then Danny and those guys have been out there helping getting us ready. So we're ready or not. Here comes the wind and snow. We're starting spring sports. So and then it won't be long. And right now the website I think is pretty up to date. We got quite a few programs coming up. Baseball, softball camp, summer registration's open, so getting ready for all that stuff. So just wanted to give you guys a quick report of what's been happening.
All right, appreciate it. Have any questions?
No.
Oh,
Thank you,
all
Tess.
right, Thank you.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay, we have nothing under ordinances and resolutions, so we'll move on to formal actions. You have a cemetery board appointment, an application from Don Smith.
Don Smith has submitted his application, and he has worked for a number of different nonprofits in town, and he wants to serve on the cemetery board. So submit it for your consideration.
Don is a great man, and he would be a great addition to any board that we would have available that he would want to serve on. So,
I concur.
A motion that we approve Don Smith Cemetery Board application.
I'll second that. A motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, discussion items. We'll start with an upgrade for the radios for the water system. Kent or Neil?
It'll be both of us, I'm sure. And I had sent you the quote. Unfortunately, it didn't include the entirety in your packet, but I had sent it to you As far as the upgrade of the Muscats to much more modern radio system, basically that communicates between the water tower, and the water treatment plant. Most of the Motorola's that are, they're Motorola Muscats is what brand they are, were installed between 2001 and 2005 at all those various facilities. As anyone regarding radios can know, their lifespan is usually about a decade. They can last a little bit longer than that. These obviously lasted 2 decades, or a little longer than that. And we received notice from the vendor. Neil received notice a short time ago and we had some communication in the previous year, and Neil may come up and speak to that, where it was a very difficult finding the parts available in order to repair one of our radios last year, and ended up having to do a lot of finagling to get that corrected and on point. So this notification is a little bit more extreme than what we were advised last year, in that they really can't provide. We have to start changing regarding all that different communication equipment that occurs within our water system. So they do have obviously a fairly large price tag, and we won't be able to do all of it at once. The price tag to replace all of it is just short of $150,000, but there are some things, Josh, some of the equipment we bought that has upgraded our servers with the IT system with the city allows us to set up a separate host software or a host server. Virtual machine. IT speak as it gets going there. Virtual machine that allows the platform for them to speak within our system to be able to communicate. So that's what the setup. We're looking at doing 2 initial things to get that set up within our equipment, and then we will, in this year's budget process, be able to talk to you about how many steps further we can take as far as replacing each one. Neil's concern is regarding the water towers and at the water treatment plant, and then probably in a subsequent year the different wells. The vendor has let us know that they will do everything possible to try to keep our current equipment operating, but it isn't something that they can guarantee at this point. So we need to start taking steps to replace it. So with that, Neil, please come forward and speak what I didn't speak about.
One of the things that they've been really good to work with, Timberline has been, we had an outage where we lost some communication, and we started making phone calls about 4 o'clock in the morning, and the guy at Timberline was on the phone with all of his representatives at about 4:30 in the morning, and our city manager made a trip to Lyman to pick up all the pieces and parts to bring back to us so we could resolve the situation that we had, and we got everything back up and running within a few hours. Which, we lose communication to something, the towers tell the treatment plant when to kick on, and the wells when to kick on and when to kick off, and if we don't have that communication, then we're just dead in the water. We have no way besides going and turning wells on hand and turning high service pumps on hand up at the treatment plant and having somebody there until things get full to shut everything down so we don't overfill something or waste a bunch of water. But they've been really good to work with, and they thought that they had sent us out a quote last year, and because when they first sent the information out that they weren't going to do our telemetry anymore, I called them and they said, well, you should have got a quote last year. And she goes, well, give me a minute. She looked back through and she goes, whoops. I said, yeah, whoops. So they said that they will do everything that they can until we can change over to keep this system up and running. And they've done a really good job.
You know, this is an entire system, and it is still operating. There's a little bit of, it's hard not to overexpress the concern and the need to change, but it's also been stable and it's worked for us up to this point. So it is consistent, it works, you know, it works the entire time, but then when something breaks down, or there's a question regarding something, they're usually, this is the vendor that Neil contacts to get it resolved. And then last year, what he was describing occurred August, September timeframe, I think, somewhere around there. Or it might have been a little bit earlier than that, when that occurred. They go to great lengths to try to resolve the situation with whatever parts that they can get done. So, and that, we were able to fix what we have. But it's not, it's working currently. They're just saying that we need to move, and we need to move as expressly as we can to upgrade the radios within it. And so we are going to be taking 2 or 3 steps to do so, because of the funding needed in order to do the project. So we have about 25 grand set aside for, I'll probably put it in my CCC, I think.
The MRF.
The MRF, yeah. It was for water control updates. It's water and electric control updates that it's available there. So that's what it's expressly used for. And then when we get to budget time, we'll be working on the next steps to be able to accomplish it. If something else in the meantime becomes an issue, we will look to where we can resolve it from our reserve funds, obviously.
So we're thinking 2 to 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't really give us a lot of notice, and they thought they had given us a year notice before we got the final notice. So that's why they are willing to do whatever they have to keep us up and running.
Are they okay with the 2 to 3 years?
I think so. I think it's just basically whatever we can do. They understand that there's a process, and they're part of the process, and they'll do whatever they can to keep us up and running and keep us moving forward when we can.
Yeah. I guess I have a few questions here probably. As far as call them the vendor, so what exactly is the vendor's role within our system? Do they do any kind of regular maintenance? Are they just basically an on-call service that you utilize if you have an issue with the radio or part of the system, or do we have a
Basically,
contract?
if something
with them?
goes wrong, we call them. They either try and fix it over the phone, or they send somebody out to fix whatever's wrong. And they're usually right on time.
What's the time frame?
They usually get out either that day or the following day, just depends on what time that the outage occurs. I said the day that we had the problem, I made the phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning. He was on the phone with his people at 4:30, and we were on the road at, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Pretty close.
8, 9 o'clock.
So they're pretty Johnny on the spot, because they know when something goes down, that kind of puts us in a spot where.
And then the program itself, the programming to make everything, when it does cause a problem, it makes it much more difficult for the system to run without someone there to monitor and make changes.
Do they
It just
have,
depends on which part of the system goes down. If it's just a radio and a well, we may lose one well, and we could just kick it on hand, but when it's a tower or an INO up at the treatment plant, that's pretty major. That's when things don't work and nothing communicates back and forth. If the treatment plant can't communicate with the towers, then nothing runs.
Who's in
And-
charge, who's in charge of maintenance on like an annual basis or a 6-month basis? Is that you or is that this company?
This company, if we have a problem, then we call them, but we don't have a contract,
For maintenance?
maintenance contract with
Okay.
them. It's just kind of per call.
But they're really great to work with.
They're very great to work with.
Are there other options available?
Donnie Younger out of Ellis. His price was, what did I say, 18,000 per site? I think 15 or 18,000 per site, and that was like 6 months ago when, after we had our outage, I called him and just asked him just for a kind of a base price, and he figured 18,000 per site. So it's considerably a lot more than what Timberline is. And we've been waiting on a radio for a lift station for almost 2 years. And they can find radios pretty readily when we need them. So,
As far as, and that kind of leads me to my next question, as far as the radios go, how is this particular, the new radio system, how was that chosen? Was that,
it was something that they kind of looked at our system and thought that this would be the best fit for our system. They've got a whole bunch of different setups, but they figured for the money, he said this would probably be our best bang for our buck on this system. And they kind of set up that system. When they first set this system up, they're the ones that set it up. Because it used to be the wells were controlled at the power plant. The operator at the power plant controlled the wells and the towers and all that stuff. So when we changed it from the power plant, Timberline came out and they set up this system and got us up and running where now it's up at the treatment plant. So they kind of look at your system to see what your needs are and what your system looks like, and then they kind of set up a system from that.
okay.
Is there any, go ahead.
I guess, I'm asking all these qualifying questions, I guess, because, you know, my thought goes to, you know, the overall cost, we're looking at $150,000-ish. And I think, feels like the idea is to pay that out in smaller chunks over time, which may or may not mitigate the need for like an RFP type of a situation. But for the project this big, I still wonder if maybe that's not the proper way to go, to do a proper RFP and bid it out and see what we get. But because I worry, you know, part of me also worries, you know, if we do a couple radios now or a few of them now, and then we get a year down the line, and for whatever reason, their price increases dramatically for whatever reason, and then we're just kind of stuck because, well, we've already bought into it a little bit. Now we kind of have to finish the rest of the way.
Right.
And maybe long term, it wasn't the best way to go. But that's just kind of, it's going through my head at the moment, I guess. You know, I don't know what the best solution is offhand, but it is a question that I have with that large of a price tag for a full project, is what the best way to truly proceed forward with it is.
Well, I guess staff wasn't looking at it from the, avoiding anything regarding the purchase policy regarding price. I mean, that's
Yeah,
not.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't implying that. I mean,
That
that's not what I was
wasn't the
implying.
intention of the staff. And this type of, system for staff is more, probably the biggest things, for staff are the reliability of the system and the responsiveness of the vendor when there is a problem. And since we've worked with this vendor for quite a number of years, there's a comfort level that's the expected outcome from the vendor. So that's why the staff presented it this way rather than trying to come up with a different to match purchasing policy.
Yeah.
And then even if there is a less costlier system, which there could be through an RFP process, staff would have to be, because it's such a critical system as far as the water system and the reliability of it, the staff would have to be absolutely certain that the product, whatever product we would receive, would actually do the job, and that the company would still be around in a year or two to follow up on it. And I just say that not trying to muddy the waters, is just what the thinking was as the staff discussed the project itself. So,
And like I said, I don't know how many companies there are around that deal in this sort of a system. You know, I mean, I can't imagine there's probably a lot of them. You know, it's a
I
very
don't know.
specific type of a system, but I just don't know. But I don't know if anybody else has any other thoughts. But.
No, there is one more company out of Nebraska, but I've heard some things on that company that are not very inviting. They get in and they get about halfway through the system and it don't work and they just walk away. And there's numerous systems that have called on that one because they heard that they'd stopped by and was checking into updating things just by hearsay, and I got numerous calls saying I'd run. And they gave me some systems to call, and I've called a few of them, and they said, oh, we're in a mess. Said instead of costing us this much, it's costing us triple because they've got to go back and fix everything that they've messed up till this point. And they don't even know if they can get the programming done to help their system, and they're just on hand mode only until this all gets resolved. And it's systems like us, they're small systems, and they don't have the budget for it, but when you're down, and you have to do something. So just systems like that just scare me to death that they're out there.
So this is a vendor that specifically works with these type of radios. This isn't something we can just go to Next Tech or someplace local and buy and hook up ourselves. These people specifically do this, right? And there's
Yeah,
not a
they
lot
have-
of companies that do it.
They have not the radio frequency, what would you call it? They actually have the license for the frequencies that we run off of. So there's a charge for that, to use their frequencies. Is that correct?
yeah, it does take that on there as a licensed UHF radio, still preferred method of communication for them.
Is that because it keeps those frequencies cleaner?
As a licensed channel, so you can't just have anybody
Mhm.
access. And that's how these work, that's how you keep them more secure.
What, do ARPA funds not cover this? Or have we exhausted our ARPA funds?
We're getting close to exhausting their
Mhm.
funds. We don't have them exhausted as yet. It would be with the sewer main project, which will come up at the next meeting. And then with the water towers, which is a separate maintenance and stuff. Those two projects,
Put it pretty close.
yeah.
What's more dire?
Yeah.
I get it,
Everything's-
but I understand, like, can you put them in a priority?
There's quite a bit of the sewer mains, like we had mentioned before,
I would say that's probably priority one.
Since sewer mains underneath the school and the church area. It may not be the entire set, but it's some of them. This is pretty important, but it's kind of like gauging it's working.
Okay.
And replacing, and that's okay, do we do it immediately, the whole ball of wax, or do we do parts of it? And what will keep the system functioning no matter what? And it's not 100% as far as staff goes, but it's pretty close.
And the tower contracts that are coming up that's, KDHE will be looking over that. You have to have inspections every 2 years, and we didn't have any inspections last year. So this year is kind of the year we have to have our inspections, so that's one thing that has to go through. I mean, KDHE really doesn't care about our radios and things like that. They want our tower maintenance. Our towers are a big thing during the summer. We utilize even the standpipe during the summer just to try and keep up. And if we would have a tower go down because of lack of maintenance or lack of upkeep, that would put us in dire needs of, we would be on water restrictions immediately.
Okay, so it sounds like that's been thought of. I just wanted to make sure.
It's all important, it's just,
No, I
it's all
understand.
coming at the wrong time.
Sounds like you have it
Yeah.
in a prioritized order.
How quickly is the planning to start moving on this? Like immediately, within a few months? Kind of a time frame were you thinking and looking at?
Well, we would start talking to them about, okay, this is the portion that we'd like to get done. Is this a feasible way to do that? Because we were looking at the first two parts on their list, which was the bigger amounts in number 4 and number 6. But also working with Josh and our IT, and whether the end amount ends up to what they said it would be. Based on that, within the next couple months, then we'll have a much better idea of what to present at budget time regarding how much of the rest of the chunk we'd like to try to take care of. And what is the critical point? And because when we started discussing with Josh, but they haven't gone to the point where the IT people actually talk to each other. And Josh is estimating that there might be some things that we've already accomplished within their quote. But until that communication occurs, we'll have a much better idea of how that will finish out. We might be able to do 1 or 2 more things on here if that would be beneficial, but we'd have to see. That's kind of the time frame we're looking at. Take the first step within the next couple months and have a plan for how to accomplish the rest of it.
What do you guys think?
Shooting from there.
Sounds like it's a plan we need to move forward on. I don't wanna be sitting in this chair if a sewer line collapses underneath the church, and I don't wanna be sitting here if the water is not working, so.
Will the old equipment communicate with the new equipment? How is that all gonna?
That's through Josh and Timberline on how that's gonna work.
They said it would, they did communicate.
Okay.
The communication will still work, because it's just binary. It doesn't matter what kind of system it is. It will still work, but that's the entire point of this is what happens when it doesn't work.
Right.
So anything that's still currently running and working would still feel that it's operating as it is.
And they did say that when they built this system, it was their tank. But they said, after a while, things start wearing out, and the parts just get fewer and fewer. And with technology moving forward, they want their IT people to move forward and not stay back here with these old systems. They want to be able to move forward with everybody else. It's kind of where they were at on this.
You know, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. When you deal with anything that's software related or anything along that lines, at some point in time, they're gonna stop utilizing old stuff because they're focusing on new stuff.
Yeah.
But,
And if we'd have been notified last year when they were sending notices out, we would be in a better spot than what we are right now. And I'm sure it was an oversight. I'm sure they have a lot of systems. I'm sure we're not the only oversight.
Well, and that brings up a point. I mean, you put these things into a water system in order to make it function and function well in a modern town like ours. But at some point, you do have to replace it. It's not just repair. And we've had some big ticket items come up in both water and sewer over the last several months. And Neil's getting a little gun shy about reporting these things to the city manager. But it does point out, and I know people, and we try to keep our rates as low as possible. But there's just some things about running a water system and a sewer system and the additional regulations that require us to do more and more and more and more, that it is just, these things eventually come up. And to say that we can, continue to maintain a system without ever replacing certain things just isn't a realistic option. And unfortunately, it has come to this commission as far as something we need to do. And it's been 3 or 4 of these big ticket items over the last year, year and a half.
yeah, you've had a run of bad luck.
Sometime it's got to switch.
Well, radios are expensive, and if we're running radios that are 20 years old, it's probably time.
And so we have too many options.
Are you guys wanting them to move forward with the plan,
Purchase plan?
or just, you know, just move forward with kind of the plan that they're wanting to do here with the quote from Timberline, wanting to look at other options? Want to think about it and bring it back next meeting?
I guess I feel like if these guys are comfortable using Timberline, we've used them for so long that they're, you know, they're happy with the service that we're getting, that maybe we should just go ahead and move forward with the, bite it off in chunks and do a little bit as we can afford it. So that's where I'm at anyway. I don't know what you guys think.
I think I'm in the same agreement
Yeah.
with that.
Same, same.
Okay. I feel like you got consensus.
Staff will bring back an update for you once we get some information about that first step. And we'll bring that to you. It's in the information item as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Neil.
Okay, up next we have the COPS grant application. Kent and or Frankie.
Silence says it all. So I did bring this up last year. We did submit the application. We didn't, there's 2 parts to it. We didn't make it to the second part. Unsure why. So this year, if approved, I do have someone who has been successful in this grant process that is willing to help me, no charge. So I thought we'd give it another shot and hope for the best with it this time. And I did include
It's from last year, but I don't see it changing that much, the fact sheet.
Mhm.
So if you have any questions on that, I'll do my best to answer. It's pretty hard to navigate through their processes and their website. So I'll do the best I can to answer any questions you may have.
Said you got somebody that's willing to help you free of charge?
Yes,
Speaking my language.
mine too, because y'all want to take everything else out of my budget.
Just the microphone.
Just a micro, okay.
And pens, yeah.
And whatever Josh needs, apparently. Yeah, I mean, I'd say,
Yeah,
try it again.
definitely.
Okay, I'm not sure of the open date for it, so I don't have any updated information. That's why I went to 2022, but it should be opening up around June-ish.
Yeah, I think last year was June, right?
Yeah, it should be somewhere
Yeah.
there. So I'll probably get started on it here pretty soon, just to make sure we're all in alignment with it, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
Any
perfect.
questions?
Very good.
I don't think so.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Okay, we have meeting topics for the joint city-county meeting coming up.
The joint city-county meeting will be on Thursday, March 23rd. And just asking the commission if they have any topics to set forward before we arrive at that meeting.
Yeah, I was trying to rack my brain earlier. I was feeling like we discussed something not that long ago. That would have been a good topic, but I don't remember what it was. And I couldn't come up with another one, so I don't have a good specific topic that I was wanting to bring up. But
Guess I'd be interested in gauging their interest in, working with the hospital and trying to develop some plans on new buildings. See what their thoughts are.
anybody have anything else? This time.
Well, since before the sales tax election, no. The estimate at that time was the middle of this year,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, that might be good to know if it's still estimated around the same time or if that's changed at all or.
We're talking hospital stuff, maybe we should invite Craig to come to that as well. Or somebody from the hospital board.
Anything else? I guess if we come up with something, we'll let you know.
Okay. Good. And we have one more regular meeting before the joint one anyway, so.
Okay, well, let's move on to D. So a little bit of follow-up regarding planning session and the Undersheriff Memorial Golf Tournament request. Start with the planning session.
Just asking if, you had set it out before, Mayor, give about a month and let them, if there was any additional input they had or remarks they had regarding a result of our work session in January.
I don't know if you
I
guys
don't
wanted
have
to
it in front of me, but-
get back together and kind of look over it one last time and see if we wanted to kind of prioritize anything on the things we discussed or just kind of leave it as it is and just kind of let things move forward as topics kind of pop up.
Have we, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I don't think it ever hurts to get back together, but
Yes, that's the
Whatever
thing.
works.
Have we prioritized, I mean, we've prioritized a few things, but
We didn't, I feel like we kinda went over kinda everything we had discussed
that's-
previously. And kinda saw where we were with
Yeah.
all the different things. I don't know that we really discussed changing anything or
That's what I'm
updating
saying.
anything, or if there's any changes we wanted to make, or,
yeah, I would say we probably need to get at least to prioritize something.
okay.
I'm not here for that.
So we wanna try to schedule in another meeting, another planning session meeting.
Probably in, it would be in April, since you have a regular meeting on the 20th, the joint meeting on the 23rd, and the KMEA 101 on
23rd as well, wasn't it?
29th,
29th,
or
29th, yeah.
someday that last week of March.
Yeah, I have it on 29th, yeah.
So unless we want to meet together and have coffee every single day at the end of the month in March, maybe.
Good start, might as well.
No, I mean, I'd be good with doing something in April.
Mhm.
Just kind of looking. It's like we have our meeting Monday, and then the next Monday is Easter. We could do like on a Tuesday or
It works for me.
Wednesday, Thursday.
April 11th is clear on my calendar right now.
Same.
When, April 11th?
I'm try to shoot for Tuesday, April 11th on that one.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have follow-up on the golf tournament request. We had Blaine Barney here, who was here again. He was here at our last meeting, who came and made a request for the commission for some sponsorship funding.
Yeah, and I have new flyers.
Thank you, sir.
So I have new flyers, because we had to move the time. Registration is at 9 and tee off at 10, because there could be a chance of frost at the end of April, and the golf course won't let us get on any of the greens if there's any frost. So we want to wait a little bit later in the morning so it can warm up, just in case there is frost, because actually, I didn't know this. I don't know anything about golf. I'm going to be the first one to tell you. But I guess if you walk on the greens when there's frost on there, it'll kill the grass and it'll turn it brown right away. And we have a really nice golf course, and we don't want it to turn brown and be like other golf courses. It's really nice out there. We did move the tee time back. Everything is the same other than the tee time. Still April 29th and that kind of stuff. So that's where we're at.
Okay, did anybody have any thoughts regarding this? I guess my thoughts were, it's a great thing you're doing. I'm not so sure the city sponsoring part of it is necessarily the most appropriate use of the funding, just because we do very minimal in this sort of a thing as far as donating to various organizations and charities and stuff. And since this is kind of a tournament to sponsor a specific individual for a very specific thing, and most of what we do is more kind of larger organizational type of donating when we do things.
Yeah, and the sheriff's office realizes that. We actually went to the county commission meeting on, it was Tuesday, the last day of the month.
last Tuesday, I believe so. And they told us the same thing, but Jeff put a lot of time into the community, time into being, the undersheriff and being out at the softball games. Even on his time off, I mean, he would be out there helping with anybody and everybody. It wasn't just Grace. If somebody was having a bad day, on the team, even an opposing team, he would go over and pull them aside and say, look, you just need to calm down. Just take a breather for a minute. And you could see them literally go back into the game, and have a completely different game just from having that interaction with him. The county did have the same worry as well that, a lot of different individuals come to, the county and the city and that kind of thing, to ask for money to be able to do a fundraiser and that kind of stuff. But due to Jeff putting so much time and effort into it, the county did sponsor, and they did do a gold sponsorship. And they are going to have, they're going to open it up to the employees of the county to see if there's anybody that wants to golf. And if they do, they'll be able to take them spots. So that's what the county did, just so you guys know.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset. I don't think that that's our job to give away the taxpayers' money like this. What this has done is it's given the word's out there. You've made us aware as well. So I've already relayed this to the company I work with, MasterCard. They should be getting in touch with you.
Okay.
So there will be something there. I'm going to be talking with my wife individually, and we will be probably helping along with this as well.
Perfect.
To hopefully try and compensate something for you.
Perfect. Understand, not money-wise. Do you think it's something that we could put like in the newsletter of the city for people that don't, like for me, myself, I don't pay for cable. It is on the roll around, but is there any way we could put it like in the city newsletter to send it out? I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask that question, but put it in the city newsletter because everybody gets that when they get their city bill.
I would shoot that to Mary.
Actually, we try to avoid those kind of things, because then you have to set the fundraiser and.
Understandable. It was just a.
Council, we do
Yeah.
different stuff, but it's good.
Oh.
I'm just telling you what we've done in the past.
No, understandable, and I don't want to, be the rule breaker or anything like that. We're just trying to get this going. We're trying to send her. Susan has actually paid up to $9,000 to be able to send Grace. We're just trying to be able to replenish that money that she, had to pull out of her own pocket. Being a single mom now, it's got to be pretty hard. Now she's got to pay for insurance and that kind of stuff as well, because when Jeff passed away, he was a county employee, and the county does, pay the insurance just like the city does. So now she's also having to pay insurance as well. And now she's trying to send Grace to Italy, and so we're just trying to help her out. That's all.
Yeah, and I mean, that's an awesome thing that you guys are doing. That really is, and I really hope everybody can help out a little bit in one form or another. Maybe, I don't know if there's any golfers at the city, but maybe the city can put a golf team together and set them out there. And like I said, I encourage everybody to give a little if they can, and whatever you can do to help.
Come and swing some clubs. I mean, anything. If you need some clubs, I can find maybe a really, really old set for you to swing, but it's about all I can give you. So, but thank you guys for your time.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
All right, anybody have anything else to discuss? Then let's move on to reports, starting with our city manager, Kent.
Mayor, members of the commission, manager memos included in your packet. We also included the month-end fund balance as of February and a budget calendar, which for the 2024 budget, and different dates within that. City Commission will start getting involved towards the end of June and start hearing different requests regarding that budget, so. And then we need to wrap up. And that's the hard part anymore about Kansas budgets is if we don't do anything regarding R&R, then when the budget needs to be done by the end of August. If we do something regarding R&R, then it's by the end of September. So that will determine as our discussions continue throughout the summer. But if you have any questions or concerns or comments regarding the budget calendar, then just advise, but I know that's a few months in the future.
Yeah.
So. But part of the staff work starts getting going here in April and May, so it's really not that far off.
It always seems to come up real quick.
Every year it seems like.
Building inspection services, we are managing, thankful, since we have a vacant position as far as the building official at this time, but we've had quite a good response, and we're in the midst of interviewing new candidates for the building official. And hopefully that will conclude fairly quickly, actually quicker than I thought it would occur. So maybe by the end of this week, we will have a candidate identified. So
Good.
we've also had discussions just to ensure that, and those have worked out okay as far as Brian James, who was the building official previously, to be able to fill in on a per inspection basis if need be. He's not available for the next few days because he's taking care of something regarding his fire department, but we are managing at this time. So with the assistance of a couple different department heads on their skills and abilities as far as with the electric and with the plumbing. But we're trying to get that resolved as soon as we can. So that's regarding the building inspection services.
Okay.
And thankfully, it's a slower time of year regarding building. So just to let you be aware, there's going to be 4 different bids that will be presented at the next meeting. They include the sewer mains, that RFP that we had sent out previously, also the water tower maintenance inspection program. And then also we will have the snow removal equipment for the airport, as well as a paint and seal project for the main runway at the airport. That both of those bids for the airport will be received on that day of that meeting on March 20th. And then Darren will make a recommendation to the board that evening on those 2 items. Just wanted to make that aware.
Okay.
We've ended up assisting the Historical Society regarding their website and their newsletters, and Josh has just taken the opportunity to help assist them. It's not really using our resources, very minimal resources, and so, but just wanted to make you aware. And then the result of conversations probably over the last 3 or 4 months regarding our front desk system, which is how our utility customers are able to pay for their bills directly, electronically, through an electronic fund transfer they're changing softwares on us. So Mary will be sending out a letter to all customers very shortly. And I shouldn't have talked too much here. I'll let Mary describe anything more she wants to say regarding that. Left it at an awkward point, sorry.
What they're doing is they are changing their payment processor. And I'm just gonna put a caveat out there, I'm not very happy. They forced us to go to this one that we're on last year, and all of a sudden, some people, not us, are having problems, so they're changing the payment processor again. And all this is gonna take is, when they make the transfer, all customers on front desk, everybody that utilizes the front desk, if you don't utilize the front desk, it won't even affect you. But if you utilize the front desk, you get an email from them, and you just basically have to sign in, go re-enter your payment information, and then you're valid. And that's all it's gonna take, but you have to change it over to their payment processor.
When does this,
As far as when you sign in and you change the payment stuff.
when does this take place again?
I've been dragging my feet.
Okay.
To be really honest.
Okay.
I'm signing the document tomorrow to have them do the transition, and I'm gonna have them give me a date. But I wanted to make sure I had my letter together for the customers before that transition took place, because I didn't wanna be behind the eight ball. So I got that in place, and so I'm gonna sign the document tomorrow, and then I will get a date from them. And I'll let them know so you can let me know.
Sounds good.
So, it should be fairly easy. They have sworn to me that it will be, but we'll see.
Josh,
But
You
if
sound very
there's problems,
confident.
We're always willing to help.
It's hard to take that serious when the IT guy is shaking his head behind you.
Well, you know, a new system costs about $100,000, so I'm kinda just going with the flow here.
Sure.
So,
the problem is the vendor forced us to change to a different payment processor at the beginning of last year. And now, because certain customers within their system can't make it work properly, our staff was able to make it work properly. All of a sudden now we have to change it again to a different payment processor. And it involves our customers having to do something. And we're gonna end up with several customers that are not able to make the change. And it will cause us quite a bit of staff time to take care of it. And relaying this message to the vendor has brought up even more frustrations. So, we're gonna make it work.
Maybe they'd like to come out and help us answer all the phone calls when people get upset.
That has been one
I'll put a
suggestion.
point in.
That's
A lot of the troubleshooting has been done because we showed them how to do it. So, I mean, that tells you, I mean, so that compliments my staff. I have very good staff.
And that is it, sir.
How are you now, Mary?
I'm really
Are
good.
you? Okay, good. Does anybody else have any other questions or follow-up for our city manager? No. All right, thank you, Kent. Okay, we'll start with commissioner reports. Start down here on my left with Commissioner Redlin.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Howard,
Nothing at this time?
Commissioner Myers,
Nothing at this point?
Commissioner Showalter.
I guess a couple of attaboys, try to pick somebody out every time, but Josh, thanks for what you do back there in the corner. I know you're kind of the backbone of keeping us all online here and making sure our meetings are public and keeping the city up and going, so thank you, I appreciate that. And also thank you to Frankie, I've been watching your numbers come through, I know you guys have been pretty busy lately, so keep up the good work out there.
All right. I have nothing more to add this evening, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Redlin,
Second.
second by Commissioner Showalter. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you, everybody.
I wasn't gonna say nothing.